On our engagement day, Mark was left standing outside, and I raised a glass to him from the balcony on the second floor. He was soaked, shivering in the chilly fall night. Honestly, he looked sort of pitiful. But he seemed to forget, it was him who let go first. Our engagement rings became a topic because his first love casually mentioned they looked nice. Right in front of everyone, he said. "Give it to her. I'll get you another one later. I'm Jenny, the girl who grew up spoiled by her family." Everyone would say, "Jenny's so pampered." There was nothing I wanted but couldn't get. For 18 years, I lived for myself, never expecting someone's words could change me. I peeled off my thorns and transformed from a fiery red rose to a gentle little white flower. When that recording came through, I was just taking off my apron, about to pack the soup I'd made for Mark. Normally, I'd be halfway to his office by now. Taking care of Mark's meals and daily needs had become my routine. Just naturally, it became my duty. Since Mark joined the company last year, I'd been delivering lunch to him every day. I made it myself. Sun or rain, no exceptions. Mark, long time no see, was the sunny voice at the start of the recording. I couldn't match the voice to any of Mark's close friends from my memories. After all, very few people address him by his full name like that. "When did you get back?" "Just got off the plane. I wanted to surprise you." Touched. Mark's could mean a lot of things. Sometimes I'd ask him, "Mark, does the soup taste good today?" "Mark, your friend didn't mean any harm, right?" "Mark, do you love me?" I could tell he was happy, but this had a different ring to it than when he answered me. So, I checked the top chat, named him, a message I sent in the morning when I woke up to find no one beside me. "Mark, did you work late last night?" The second half of the recording was Evan joking around, teasing Mark about him and Fiona. "So, her name's Fiona, now I know." Mark's friends had often joked in front of me about Fiona being the one he missed the chance with. Mark was still in a meeting. I placed the food container on the table and went to the break room. He's always been like that, not liking his personal space disturbed by others, so it's been my job to tidy things up there. I remember I struggled at first, didn't even know how to handle basic chores. I practiced folding shirts and dealing with duvet covers at home, even messed up once and had feathers flying everywhere. Thinking about it makes me laugh. Being with Mark over these years has definitely mellowed me out. Suddenly, something shiny caught my eye, wedged in the pillow's seam. A diamond stud, likely a new design from FB a few months ago. Leo had sent me a picture back then, and when I replied "looks nice," he told me it had already been put in my jewelry box. He always assumed anything he thought I'd like should automatically go into my room. But Leo doesn't know, it's been ages since I wore studs, my piercings have even closed up. I put down the bedding and washed my hands, then left the S Group building before Mark returned. I felt like a runaway soldier. I lounged in the park, soaking up the sun, until the night fell. Mark didn't send me a single message. He knew I'd been there, but didn't care why I left without seeing him, or if I had eaten. Never mind, he saw more than one pair of chopsticks in the container. But it's nothing new. It's always been like this. Since I accepted all of this and stayed with him, I can't blame him now. It would make me look greedy. All I ever wanted was him, just Mark. When I finally made it back home, Mark was already there. I stood outside the door, lost in thought. "Why aren't you coming in?" Mark opened the door, wearing his black pajamas, looking at me with his usual lack of expression. I didn't speak, just quietly studied him. He stood in the light, while I stayed in the shadow, a sharp divide between us. I've loved Mark for 4 years. It all began at a northern city gala, where I caught sight of him. His striking looks and charm aligned with the dreamy boy image from a young girl's imagination. Love at first sight may sound cliché, but I fell for it. I signed up for a university in a city just to be near him. When he said he liked good girls, I slowly erased my real self, transforming into another person. Suddenly, I dropped my bag and flung myself at him, wrapping my arms around his neck. "Mark, I love you so much." He hefted my legs up to his waist. Burying my face in his shoulder, I refused to look at him. "Behave," he said. "Who's Fiona? And why are there women's earrings in your break room?" He seemed stunned, probably not expecting me to bring her up. "Just a friend," he replied. "She drank too much last night and crashed there." "So where did you sleep?" I peered at him, trying to catch his eye. "The couch." This picky guy actually slept on the couch for someone else. Why only tell me when I ask? When he was accommodating someone else, did he ever think of me, alone in this empty house? Those memories of me losing sleep to book hotel rooms so he could rest better suddenly felt ridiculous. "Mark, do you remember how much you loved me when you were 20? That night had me deep in thought, and Mark sensed it. But he just made me a cup of warm milk like usual. My mom's hosting a charity event tomorrow night. I'll go straight from work and have my assistant pick you up, okay?" I nodded softly. Mark's mom is really fond of me. No matter the time or place, she's already paired me with Mark in her mind. Jenny is the daughter-in-law I've set my eyes on. She's already part of our family. With her by Mark's side, I can rest easy. Mark listens to Jenny. It's like I've grabbed a lifeline, finally feeling a bit sure of myself. That evening, a bunch of new elites and socialites were gathering in City A. I walked over to Mark's mom, aware of the mixed glances in my direction. "Auntie," I said, genuinely respectful. "Oh, Jenny, you're here." Her well-maintained face lit up with a smile. She pulled me around to chat with some of the ladies. Whispers filled the spaces we left. "So, she's the daughter-in-law Mrs. White approves of. She doesn't have power or status. What's in it for them?" "Don't say that. Mrs. White likes her, and so does Mark. Her worth is already rising." I glanced at the person who spoke with a mocking tone. "Look. There's Mark." He walked in wearing the outfit I picked for him this morning, elegant and understated. On his finger was a matching ring like mine. I touched my own ring, a smile just about to form, but then someone walked in right behind Mark. She was beautiful, with an audacious vibe, sharp yet alluring. Instinctively, I knew it was Fiona. They entered together, looking like quite the pair. Guests threw cryptic glances between us. I forced a tight smile. "Hurry over, Jenny's been waiting for you," Mark's mom said, pulling him to my side. I smiled helplessly and linked my arm with his. "So, Fiona, you're here too. Long time no see. I have some things to handle, so I'll leave you young people to chat." Fiona responded warmly, then shot a sharp look my way. "Hello, Fiona. Nice to finally meet you, Jenny. You kinda remind me of the old me, but my skills weren't as sharp as yours back then. Am I right, Mark?" "Fiona." Mark's warning came up. Who knows if it was about her animosity or the familiar way she called him. I maintained a surface-level smile, dealing with the unspoken tension between them. Was Fiona around when I was tidying up blankets? Did she happily enjoy the meals I made when I wasn't feeling up to it? Before she left, Fiona glanced casually at our intertwined fingers. As the party wound down, I'd wandered the small garden alone for a long time. It was time to go back inside. Alone, I found myself relaxing. My eyelid tape had come loose, so I just pulled them off. It revealed my natural eye shape, clear and bold. Without the droppy edges, my eyes looked harsher and more intense. "Mark, Jenny's the best choice for you. No debate." Mark's mother rarely spoke so sternly. I was so shocked, I didn't immediately realize I was still the topic. "So what?" Mark's indifferent face was unchanged behind the partially open door. "I'm really curious what makes him drop that high and mighty attitude. You're going to marry her. Just get the paper. Whoever else you see, that's your business. Even if there are several Fionas, Just don't lose to that bastard. Mark chuckled, because Jenny's easy to control? No, Mark, because she's head over heels for you. She's just a tool to us, and she won't be deprived. I don't know how I walked down that corridor or out the door. The dim half-mountain lights seemed so far. I kicked off my heels and let the gravel dig into my feet. The wind was harsh. Tears briefly touched my cheeks before the wind dried them, leaving an aching, prickly sensation. I wanted to go home. To my family. To Richard and Leo. Mark, you're a jerk. The phone rang only for a bit before Leo picked up. You finally called me. Leo, my voice was raspy. Jenny? The sound of a cup crashing came through. Jenny, are you okay? Did someone upset you? I'm coming over. Who dared bully you? I'll skin him alive. Leo's words flowed in a frantic rush. It's nothing, Leo, really nothing major. I can handle it. How are Mom and Dad? You've been so heartless, no calls for years. They were really hurt when you just up and left. They're fine, just miss you. Leo's last words were a bit hesitant, like there was more to say. Okay, Leo, got it. Jenny, you're a complete idiot, the biggest one out there. Did you go back? Why didn't you say anything? He messaged me, the dress didn't shield the cold, and his words cut deep into my chest. I'm not coming back tonight. Fiona likes your ring, I'll get you a new one tomorrow. Just give her yours. The wind drove right into the hole in my heart. I pulled my ring off. Mark, have it your way. Fiona's return peeled back the layers. I finally saw the truth. So, it was just because I acted like Fiona. That's why Mark loved me for a bit. That was it. He wasn't wrong. He just didn't love me anymore. I didn't really do anything wrong. I just still love him. This time, finally, I couldn't find any excuses for him. I slowly crouched down and buried my face in my arms. My sobs gradually came out, like water starting to boil. I cried out loud, my voice hoarse and strained. People can be ridiculous sometimes. Who knows, one day in the future, you might even despise yourself. Eventually, I collapsed on the floor, dry heaves taking over as I typed, Leo, I want to go home. This apartment was filled with my stuff, but none of it mattered anymore. I packed lightly, just fitting everything into one suitcase. Jenny, where do we head after getting in? Go left first, then right. Leo took the earliest flight and came to get me. Jenny, you've been living pretty well, huh? But all sound faded the moment Leo saw my swollen, crying eyes. Jenny, you better not be coming back just because things went south here. Or I might kill you. Leo. I choked out. Leo's eyes turned red instantly. Who is it? Don't ask, Leo. I'm sorry, I beg you. Leo was pacing anxiously, jaw clenching tight. I could tell he was close to breaking down. Yeah, that Jenny, from birth until she turned 18, begging wasn't even in her vocabulary. Her parents spoiled her, Richard spoiled her, even her twin brother spoiled her. The sky could fall, and someone would hold it up for her. That's what she heard most at that time. Jenny, you have guts. Leo grabbed my suitcase and walked out. An engine revving sounded outside, followed by Mark's shout. I quickly placed the ring on the coffee table and ran out. Leo had Mark pinned to the car hood, his face livid. Mark struggled in vain, and Leo turned to me with a sarcastic laugh. Jenny, what haven't you had since you were born? What have we ever denied you, that you'd leave for this guy for 4 years? Tears streamed down from Leo's eyes. Choking on his words, he kicked Mark to the ground. Let's go home. The passenger door swung open. Jenny, you can't leave. Mark sat on the ground, clutching his stomach, hair disheveled. I closed my eyes in exhaustion, opened them again, and stood before him. Mark, go ask around. Am I not good enough for you? Hearing this, disbelief and shock filled his eyes. Yeah, how did the little bunny from 4 years ago wake up to this? I tugged at my white sweater, feeling annoyed. Leo ignored me. Whatever I said, he wouldn't respond. Just then, an unfamiliar call came in. Jenny? I stayed silent. Come on, don't overreact. I just casually mentioned it. Last night, it was all Mark's friends, so it's fine. None were gossipers. It's just a ring, no big deal. Fiona, whether it's the ring or whatever, if you want it, take it. I've thrown it away. As for you, you're not qualified to talk to me. Next time, call with your brother's number, maybe I'll answer. I hung up and broke the SIM card. The moment the plane took off, something snapped, like a string. Mark, 3 years ago was our best year. You used to mumble I love you even in your dreams. I'll probably remember it for a lifetime. So be it, I'll own up to my feelings and choices. Moving forward, I want to be myself. These past years were exhausting, but I don't owe you. Still, I never thought this adamant promise would one day become a tangled mess that two people couldn't even begin to unravel. Time flew by, and 3 months passed. Maybe my parents and Richard noticed something, but they never asked. The day I went home, my whole family stood at the door. A welcome home was enough to help me recover for a long time. Only Leo would see me lazing around and call Bonnie to drag me out for some fun. Jenny, we started a band and need a drummer. You're back now, right? Not leaving? Our band's called Free. Come on, Jenny. I rolled the name around in my head, a bit speechless. Not interested. Jenny, I need you. Please, we have a small gig soon and can't find anyone else. Bonnie chanted in my ear like a mantra until I couldn't take it anymore. Just this once. Yay, I'll pick you up when it's time. Bonnie rushed over and gave me a loud kiss. Leo stood in the yard with an amused look. That day, I threw on a black jacket, laced up my Doc Martens, and went out. A lot of people were there, the vibe was intense. With a cocktail in hand, I climbed up, tested the drums. It was okay, manageable. Jenny, I'm so nervous. Bonnie was fidgeting. I tapped her head lightly. Despite her big frame, she had a soft personality and a voice that seemed unsuited, sounding like a grade schooler. Our turn came. The evening sky was painted in red, stage lights flashing in colors. Tight drumbeats erupted, drumsticks in hand tapping, dancing on my skull. Long-forgotten memories flooded back, my blood ran hot. I threw off my jacket, tossing it aside. Cheers from the crowd soared. Something in my spirit was freed. At this moment, I was all mine. While I savored the long-lost adrenaline rush, the one person who shouldn't appear stood at the alley entrance. He looked thinner, dark circles prominent under his eyes. When the last note fell, I grabbed my coat, gave Bonnie a nod, and walked out. The street outside the alley was cold and quiet. Mark waited at the corner, cornering me. Jenny, you play drums? I never knew. He was still in his suit, and I couldn't figure why he was here. Seeing my confusion, he explained. I was checking out a property a street over when I saw you get out of the car. As soon as I finished, I hurried over. He hesitated, then continued cautiously, good thing you hadn't left yet. Is that Mark? No way. How long has it been since I've heard him talk so much in such an accommodating tone? Move over, good dogs don't block the way. I dodged him and started to leave. A white Jeep Wrangler was parked by the street. I grabbed the handle and climbed in. He just snapped out of the shock from my insult and hurriedly blocked my car. Jenny, can we talk? Please. What a bother. I don't want to say a word to him. It doesn't matter to me how he is, how his mom is, or how his family is. In City A, I poured my heart out, but no one was ever sincere with me. Mark, don't show up in front of me again. As soon as I finished speaking, there was a bang behind me. I spun the steering wheel and raced past him. In the rearview mirror, Mark stood motionless in front of his smashed car. Jenny, how much do you know about Mark's family? Around the dinner table, Richard's question caught me off guard. I instinctively looked at Leo. Leo shook his head. What's up? I asked nonchalantly. I heard they're a big deal in City A. You just got back, so I'm asking you. I don't know. All right. They're looking to open a branch in City H and are keen to work with us. Mark wants to open a branch in City H? Does his mom know about this? As far as I know, Mark's mom would rather have Mark stay in City A forever. How could they move? I do know a bit about his family, but since he explicitly said he didn't want me to focus too much on it, I didn't dig into it. But in a couple of days, I have a scheduled meeting to discuss this that I can't miss. Jenny, can you go instead? I pointed to myself, surprised. Me? I'm not going. Let Leo go. Richard looked at me, helpless. Leo has other things to do. It's just a small favor. The bar's lighting was dim. I even had someone bring over an extra lamp so they could see the contract better. S Corporation's crew, dressed in corporate attire, stood awkwardly, unable to hide their embarrassment. Mark wasn't there, but one member looked familiar. Probably the guy who's always with Mark. He seemed to have a complicated expression, hesitating to say something to me. I sat on the couch and gestured for them to continue. This is my brother's assistant. Take your time to chat. If things go well, call me from the room next door. If not, just enjoy yourselves. Consider it my hospitality. After saying that, I turned away and left. In the adjacent room, Bonnie was alone, a row of drinks in front of her, playing drinking games loudly. Jenny, you're back. I stood behind her, helped gather her loose hair into a ponytail. Jenny, let me introduce you. This is Linda's brother, Larry. Following her finger, I saw a boy in a hoodie and sweatpants sticking out in a group of trust fund kids. Clearly, he wasn't good at partying, already having drunk quite a bit. He seemed innocent, much like how I used to pretend. Looking back, I realized just how good I was at acting. I let out a self-mocking chuckle and sat down. Suddenly, catcalls erupted. Larry, drinking more is pointless now. Dare. Dare. Amid the egging on, Larry approached, ears bright red, eyes locked onto me. I glanced at him without a word. Is he looking for Jenny? Are my eyes playing tricks? Is he serious? As he got closer, I realized he actually had a bit of a fierce look, and his eyes resembled mine a lot. Could it be? He really reminded me of my former self. I couldn't help but feel nostalgic. So, when the door to our suite opened, Larry was kneeling on one knee beside me, his lips gently touching my cheek, twinkling stars in his eyes. What are you doing? Mark stormed in, his face dark like ink, veins bulging in his hands as he marched toward Larry. Larry lowered his eyelashes, obediently sitting next to me, not looking at either Mark or me, but subtly linking his fingers with mine on the sofa. Mark, what do you want? I grabbed a bottle off the table and smashed it at Mark's feet, glaring at him with disdain. His movement froze, a dazed expression overtook his face. Jenny, I heard from my assistant that you were going to be here today, so I rushed over. Get out, I interrupted. Where did everyone go? I asked, puzzled, looking around the empty lounge. I sent them away. Mark pulled me into a tight embrace, holding me so hard that my shoulders ached a little. What's wrong with you? Let go. Jenny, don't be like this. Stop being mad, okay? Don't push me away. He pulled back a little, wiping my cheek over and over like he was trying to scrub it until it hurt. Mark, I'm not being moody. We broke up. I initially thought that leaving Mark would take a long time before I could see him again without losing my composure. But to my surprise, every time I met him, my heart grew calmer. He has slowly shifted from an untouchable part of my past to forgotten history. No, Jenny, you love me, you can't let go. His conviction was almost laughable. Yeah, Mark, I loved you. I loved you through your 3 years of indifference, through letting those around you mock me, so when your mother saw me as a mere baby machine, I should have loved you. When you asked me to give away the ring you put on my finger, should have loved you. In your eyes, how worthless is my love, to be so cheap. I slapped Mark hard, leaving him standing there, eyes red and stock still. Eventually, he muttered. It wasn't like that, Jenny. I never thought that way. I just... What, can't you wait a little more, Jenny? Just a little longer. Why not? I've waited long enough. As I was leaving, Mark dryly begged, Jenny, I have unfinished business. Until then, could you not accept anyone else and give me a chance to explain? I didn't respond, and his words slowly faded into the wind. Love can make people go back and forth, and painful mutual longing can be exhausting. But the habits that lingered made my heart ache for Mark. Maybe I should have asked him why he was so distant, why he messed around with his mom for so long, why he traveled all the way to H City, and why he kept entangling with me. But soon enough, someone showed up with the answers. Haven't seen you in a while, Fiona. What's up? Jenny, without you, I wouldn't be like this. I looked at her as if she were crazy. Clearly, she was purposely cornering me. But I wasn't in a rush. The way she was dressed, she'd burst even if I didn't ask. Don't you have anything to ask? Nope. Her eyes were glaring intensely at me. Mark and I were childhood sweethearts. I thought it was natural for us to be together. But then my family had issues, I was sent abroad, and you took advantage of that. Mark cared about you because he saw you as my substitute. At this point, she was gritting her teeth. But later on, it came out that his dad had an illegitimate child, nearly the same age as him. His mom was so shocked, she forced him to quickly take over the company. And you? You're just a useful organ. Tell me something I don't know. I lazily shoved my hands in my pockets. She suddenly got agitated. You don't think Mark opened a branch in H City for you, do you? His mom suggested it. Guess why? She looked at me with such satisfaction in her eyes, her tone growing sharper. The mother-in-law who once called you a sure daughter-in-law now sees a bigger value in you. So, it's best if she can coax you back. But if she can't, then on the 25th, Mark is supposed to get married. A tear slipped down Fiona's cheek, and I stood there stunned for a moment. Jenny, I've been with Mark since his youth, and you helped him through not-so-easy years. But in the end, the hand he's holding doesn't belong to either of us. Fiona, I've never seen you as a competitor. If the bride isn't me, it doesn't matter who it is. I heard crying behind me, but I didn't turn back and walked toward the person waiting by the car. Larry, you've been pretty persistent lately. I closed my eyes and slumped lazily in the seat. I've missed you. Jenny, didn't you miss me? He took off his cap and placed it on my head. If you want to cry, then cry, but can you forget about it afterward? Just look at me. A slightly hoarse voice came from under the brim. So Larry, how about we get married? The air suddenly went silent. Then, a short laugh came from the side. You made me laugh. You're just bullying me because you know I like you, right? Larry said as he opened the drawer in front of my seat. Inside, a string of warm yellow lights was tightly wrapped around a bouquet of red and white roses. Under the roses was a pile of photos. Sis, today marks the 7th year since I started liking you. I gasped at the photos from my high school days. Are you a stalker or something? Larry slowly leaned his head on my shoulder, testing the waters. After a soft breath, he seriously looked into my eyes. Then get engaged to me. I'm letting you have a few more wild days, but being engaged is for real, and you're not getting rid of me easily. His expression was affectionate, his tone soft, if you ignored the suppressed color in his eyes. So, I slowly wrapped my arms around his neck and whispered in his ear, "Larry, stop pretending. You're just like me." The 25th came out of nowhere. When I woke up, a strange message lay on my lock screen. "Jenny, after tonight, it'll be over." Yeah, it'll be over after tonight. Our engagement party was low-key, just inviting some family members from both sides. After the ceremony, I went to the second-floor balcony to rest my legs that had been running around all day. Larry was downstairs being toasted, happily taking it all in, talking about his one secret crush to anyone who'd listen. Turns out, someone's blatant affection can be so dazzling. The sudden rain caught me off guard. I looked out at the yard. Outside the iron gate, Mark stood drenched. Seeing his tuxedo and the forgotten red boutonniere pinned to his chest, I raised my glass to him from a distance. He stood frozen, his eyes lost in gray. Those once charming eyes seemed on the verge of bleeding. Suddenly, he leaped to the gate, pounding on it like a cornered beast, trembling uncontrollably. "Jenny, when the wedding day comes, I'll design our rings and put them on you." "All right, I'll wait." Not long after, another car arrived. Burly bodyguards pulled Mark away, though he clutched the iron bars, palms torn and bleeding. Mark lay on the ground, covered in dirt, but couldn't fight against it, and was dragged away. I opened an umbrella and walked slowly to the gate. Amid the chaos, a necklace was left behind, with 2 simple rings strung on it. I haven't seen him since. Occasionally, I'd hear bits of news. He finally became the unrivaled head of S Group. He got married and then divorced. "Honey, I hope you're thinking about me." Larry buried his head in my chest, and I stroked his hair with a helpless look. "Not a minute goes by where you don't wish I think of you 48 hours a day." "Jenny, marrying me, do you regret it?" I felt a coolness at my neck and hugged him tightly, saying sincerely, "Every day is filled with happiness. Life is short, and being purely loved by someone is rare. Having been that person, I cherish it deeply." And Larry made me realize how unworthy I was back then. Mark only ever loved himself. To him, making me a mistress didn't seem like a problem. So ridiculous. "Baby, I'm hungry." The person on me rubbed his face against mine and nudged me with his nose. "What do you want to eat?" "I'll make it."